Oh, look at that. Just fire up the recording like that. Bam!
Hot fire.
Super hot fire. You little son of a bitch. Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. My name's Ben. We're here to answer your shooting questions. On deck today, Mr. Matt Hopkins.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, right. And our little Asian friend. Well, you're not little. You're actually quite a big guy. Tall anyway.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, Mr. Kim.
Hello.
Hello is right. All right, gentlemen. Do we have any interesting announcements to make for anybody?
No?
No? Kim, anything?
No. Oh, the sun came up in Washington State today. That's big news.
Well, twice a year.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Let's get to the questions, because that's what people come for anyway. All right. Hi, Ben. Recently, a drill of yours was posted to Facebook, and I have a question. It's the one you put a fresh target behind a used one and fire pairs. No, that's not the drill I put on Facebook. But I know you explained the drill in detail, but can you please take a few minutes from your podcast to talk about it a little more? My question is, should I kind of ignore the front sight and learn how the gun actually looks and behaves in relation to the target for each distance? So, gentlemen, let me describe this drill, because it's an important one, so we get the audience on the same page. Just 1 second. Let me grab something. Forgot to grab this. All right. People are listening to the audio rip of this in their car or something. They're going to be slightly fucked for a minute. But anyway, the drill that I posted on Facebook is this one. It's in Skills and Drills Reloaded on page 24. It's called doubles. So essentially what I have you doing is drawing the gun and then shooting the gun sort of at match pace in pairs. So you draw the gun, point it at the target, aim at the target, and then you're going to go ba-ba, 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 shooting pairs of shots like you would in a match. You would typically engage a target with, a two-shot engagement. And then basically I peg the speed to something realistic for a match. So for example, what's in here, 5 yards is a .2 split. That's pretty realistic. And at 25 yards is a .35 split. And then there's kind of a range of times in between those. And you're going to shoot the gun at that pace and essentially learn to shoot it straight at that pace. Is that a good explanation there, Kim?
Yes.
That works for you? Yes. So you will shoot the speed, and then you learn to not influence the gun while you're doing that. So kind of the bugaboo for people, or I've gotten questions like this from this guy. When he says, should I kind of ignore the front sight and learn how the gun actually looks? No, I'm not telling you to ignore the front sight. The fact is, when you're shooting at match pace, or what should be match pace at these wide open targets, they're not partial targets, you can shoot at them really fast, and you're going to shoot faster than front sight. You see your front sight, you decide to fire a shot, then the gun settles down, you see the front sight clear again, you decide to fire another shot. That takes some time, half a second, 0.6 of a second. It takes a long time, and you don't have to be around the sport for very long to know that if you're watching, faster shooters shoot their way through a stage, they go faster than that. You're not going front sight press, and you learn to, point the gun in the center of the target, maybe focus on the target, you see the sight peripherally, and you'll shoot a pair of shots, and you're going to see what the sight's doing. You'll see how the gun moves in recoil and how the sight moves in recoil, and you don't make a decision to fire each shot individually. You look at the target, put the gun on it, decide to fire a pair. So you'll see what's happening, but you're not making conscious decisions as you shoot each shot. Does that make sense so far, Hopkins?
Yeah, I'm with it.
The thing that fucks people up is they think they need to see their sight and then make a conscious decision every time. Every shot. You know what I mean? This is what people don't understand. So when you take a C-class guy and put him on this drill and force them to shoot this speed, they get confused. That makes sense?
It's a little backwards
What is?
than what? Huh?
What is? The drill?
Yeah, but no, like what you're doing in it.
Yes. All right. Good. Of course. So here's what.
It's different than what you would normally teach on shooting stage,
Well,
right?
I normally teach people to do this. This is the normal for me.
Or in a stage,
No, for a drill.
in the match though.
No, this is how I teach people. Like this is
Okay.
a normal drill to do.
Okay.
And the thing that's the normal, like sort of traditional shooting instruction has been see your sight for every shot, shoot to the pace of your sights, shoot accurately, and then over time
You'll eventually
you'll
speed
get
up.
faster. Yes.
Yeah.
So what I do is say, you will shoot me the speed that I want you to shoot. And instead of having somebody do a lot of repetition and hoping that they make an intuitive leap, so they shoot a lot and then they just sort of naturally start to go faster than they're making a conscious decision to fire every shot. Instead of, that's traditional instruction is shoot to your sights, period, shoot accurately, period, and then shoot a few buckets of ammo and you hope that people make an intuitive leap to get faster. I force them to shoot the speed and then they experience what shooting at full speed should be like, and then I tell them not to influence the gun, and then they see the sights as they're moving, and then I hope they make the intuitive leap that they can be not making a conscious decision about every single shot they fire and see what's happening with the sights. That makes sense?
So you're shortcutting the time between a bucket of ammo. You're trying to at least.
Yeah, this is a marksmanship drill that I have.
Yeah.
Like this is how you learn fundamentals in a weird way. Like even though you're shooting in pairs and you're shooting like at a pace of 5 shots a second at close range, you're going like ba shooting that fast. You're learning marksmanship fundamentals because you're learning not to influence the gun or push into the gun as you're firing shots at that pace. And you're seeing how the sights move, and what people get out of it is like, oh, if I grip the gun properly, and I don't push on the gun, it's not going to move around a whole lot, so I can look through the sights and fire into the target, and I'll see that my sights move pretty dramatically, but I still will hit A's or mostly A's, right? So you're coming at fundamentals from a different direction. That's all. Does that sound fair, Kim? You've been in a couple classes doing this drill, and you observed a class doing this. Yeah.
I actually do it in my live fire training, probably at least once a week or usually more. So I do a lot of dry fire. People who do dry fire, I would say this is in my opinion, the best live fire drill because you get to see what you need to see in different distances, and basically you can't really shoot 5-yard target or 20-yard target in dry fire and say, oh, the recoil management looks good because there's no recoil, so it's best. And also, if you are an indoor shooter who can not really shoot pairs, this is your best live fire drill too, because like Ben explained, there's the set time, 0.2 seconds within like 5-yard target kind of thing. So some really good shooter, I think one of the Steel Challenge World Champion guy said he usually shoots crazy runs and then try to make his eyes follow what he has to see in that speed. And some people, if they never really shot or if they don't know how to see in that super high speed shooting, like 5-yard shooting, I recommend doing this drill and compare it to what it looks like at 30-yard or 25-yard target versus 5-yard target. Because one of the explanation Ben gave a long time ago was driving a sports car versus driving on a highway. So you have to drive really fast to actually start seeing what it feels like and what you have to see and what your capability is.
Well, yeah, I mean, with a car, it's like driving at the traction limit of the car on a track. You might occasionally cross the traction limit and slide the car around or, slide off the track or something. But, you would still learn from that experience. It's kind of like,
yes,
I don't have a problem with people shooting past what they're really seeing and shooting misses, so long as they understand what they're doing and they're looking to improve. Does that make sense, Hopkins?
No, it totally makes sense.
So in fundamentals
Oh,
classes, we do this
yeah.
drill, and it's actually strange because there's some guys that shooting slow fire or shooting, reactive to each sight picture, where it's like sight press, sight press, sight press. Like they don't get marksmanship fundamentals, so like they're still pushing on the gun. They see the sight where they want it, and they slam the trigger back really hard, and they push down on the gun. Like there's
Yeah.
guys who it's very difficult to get them to stop doing that, but then you put them on this drill, and immediately, I'm talking they only shoot it for like 15 minutes, shoot like 100 rounds, 150 rounds, and you start to see that they're improving. You know what I mean? So it's just a different approach to try to get to the same thing, which is pull the trigger without moving anything, and the gun will shoot straight.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. So I did this when I was coming up and getting better. I would do it at a match, though, like a weekly practice match,
Yeah.
and not on the range training it specifically. So I would be doing it over the course of a year or
Well,
whatever,
Yes, of course.
trying to learn to go faster.
Yeah, so what a lot of guys that have gotten really good at this, and really gotten really good at shooting, have done is made the intuitive leap on their own. So it's like you go out and you shoot and you practice, then you look at your time or you look at a video of yourself, like when you're B class Hopkins, when you were a retard, you're like, I'm too slow. I need to go faster. This isn't working. And then you would, you're just like, you're going to find a way to go faster. But not everybody works that way. Instead, you could give them the time limit and just work backward from there. And that's why in this drill, the only time limit is the shooting pace. I don't give a shit how long it takes you to draw. I don't care how long it takes between pairs of shots. Like, it's hyper focused on just your shooting speed, just the shooting part.
One thing I learned from this drill, the best thing, I mainly two things, but the first one, really big one for me, was that actually forcing that time limit, right, 0.2 seconds at 5 yard, that pushing the time limit actually created some kind of pattern for me. What pattern is that's on the target? So first shot pattern and the second shot pattern, I was always be able to see my second shot group on the right side high.
Yes.
And then I messed up with my grip, and I tried to make the sight track up and down. So before, my sight was tracking somewhere around like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So that's where my second shot group was. But then I changed the grip a little bit, and then my second shots were all low. So I had like muzzle dipping issues. So as you can force, you can see what kind of pattern of your group sizes or the location of the group and all that. So you can analyze.
Yes, this is another thing I'm a big fan of, is looking at patterns or looking at aggregate scoring. So I like to shoot multiple runs on the same drill and look at how the hits pattern kind of score on an average or aggregate score, as opposed to shooting a drill once and then pasting holes and not really paying attention to what the big picture tells you. So that's, Kim, like, that's great advice. And this drill is a perfect candidate for that, because if you're doing it right, you should be isolating just the shooting part. If you follow the instructions, and if you, like, there's guys who want to rush their draw to start shooting early on this drill, and that's sort of counterproductive because it just adds another variable into how their hits are patterning on the target. If that makes sense. When they start to they want to get that first shot off as quick as they can, as opposed to shoot it straight.
So real quick, what is your take on like timing the gun or anything?
Yeah, so I tell people, hold on the gun, like crush grip the gun with just your hands, and don't consciously try to push it down as you're shooting. And then I hope that people intuitively learn, not to push down on it. As they kind of get the feel of the gun going off in their hands and don't push it down. They just hold it there and kind of let it do its thing in recoil, and it'll come back to where you're pointing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything about like recoil springs or like tuning your gun?
I don't give a fuck about any of that.
Okay. All right.
Like, I personally don't. If you like, what I've found is that adult men, almost universally, shooting any full-sized 9mm gun, 40 caliber, like 2011s, that kind of shit. Like
Yeah.
pretty much anybody with pretty much any gun, pretty much any sort of ammo they care to load it with, they're going to be able to do this. Like it just doesn't make a big difference. Like how you load it, or you know what I mean? Or how you have the springs. It could be a factory, sprung, whatever the fuck, with a factory trigger, and it doesn't affect things that much. And actually, the metric I would give in a class setting for how fast you should be shooting at 5 yards, it would be as fast as you can pull the trigger. So you're going to aim at the center of the target and shoot a pair as fast as you can pull the trigger, and you want to do that without pushing down on the gun or pushing the gun sideways. And you want to make sure you're holding onto it hard enough that it doesn't fly around. It doesn't, track the second shot up. That'd be what I'm looking for. All
Very
right.
good advice.
Yes. It's. It works. If you have a group of 12 people, like that's the best advice, I think.
Yep.
All right. So, but I guess to circle back to this guy's question, where it's not that you're ignoring the front sight. You're gonna see what the gun's doing as it's doing it. It's just you are shooting faster than you can consciously react to that stuff. Okay, you're not ignoring the front sight. You're still gonna see it. It just might be focused on the target, and you see the front sight as like a blur as it's shooting, as the gun's shooting. That makes sense, Kim?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Next question. An interesting one. Ben, I'm getting my ass kicked by swingers at majors. None of my clubs use them very often, and I don't have any access to one for practice. Do you have any tips to prepare for them? Oh my God, Hopkins. You're pretty good at swingers. What do you think?
I can always be better. I'm not the
Can
best.
always be better. My ninja.
Fuck. I don't know. I mean, the only to practice it, I don't know. I don't know really.
I know, he says to prepare for it because he doesn't have one to practice. I've got a
Try to
couple
shoot 'em?
ideas, but I'm going to withhold them so you don't steal them.
I honestly don't know. Like I shoot them pretty regularly here locally, so that's kind of all I got. I don't know.
All right.
Maybe like the advice of shoot in front of like where it's at.
That-
Like if you shoot at the A zone and it's swinging, you're gonna shoot behind it. So you want to shoot ahead.
All right. Well, that is one thing to remember, I would say. Mr. Kim, do you have any ideas?
Yeah. So I actually found a website that has a moving swinger target. Flash.
The flash
thing,
one?
Yeah, flash one. So I actually used that a couple times, but then knowing what I need to do in order to shoot two alphas on the A zone was pretty critical. So I used to shoot most of the swingers all target focus, but then now I feel like I should. So once I see the A zone of the swinger, I move my shift to my front sight so I can call better. And beginning of shooting 2 years ago, I used to shoot pretty much like I copied top guys. So a lot of top guys shoot 2 shots in one pass, and I wanted to do that. So I would aim 1 shot and just yank 2 shots on it without really calling my shot.
I love it.
Calling your shot is really important on swingers. Even if you are shooting 5-yard swinger target, I would recommend you to actually look at, even if it's target focus or side focus, I don't care, but you make sure you call the shot on the swinger. That's, I think, the most important thing. Or if this guy or girl has a wife or husband, just ask them to swing the target for
It's
them.
a guy and he does have a husband.
Oh, okay.
That's a joke. All right. I have 2 ideas on how to help prepare for these things. Number 1, if you're going to a major match, go early and make sure you watch the stages with swingers that you are concerned about. To the extent that you get very, very comfortable with where that swinger is, where it appears, where it appears from. Like, does it come out from the left side or the right side? Where does it stop? Like, and get used to tracking the swinger with your eyes as it comes out. So you can pick an engagement order on the, on that stage or on that section of the stage. So you know that you're going to get over to that moving target, and you have some time to track it as it comes out, and you've done, it might involve you standing there on that stage for an hour to watch the movers, because that's, in an hour you might see the swinger come out 15 times. Only 15 times. So stand there for a while and watch the thing come out, track it as it comes out with your eyes, and get comfortable with the idea of, shooting it at that pace. What I found when I do this, I go watch a moving target. I really visualize shooting it. I track it as it comes out as other people are shooting the stage, and you get comfortable with how it moves. And that's so you're not surprised at all when you go actually shoot the stage for real. I think you'll find that very, very helpful, just to go, get comfortable with the idea of shooting it. Pick a plan that allows you, to feel comfortable. So like if you see guys you're competing against put it, activate the swinger, then shoot 2 targets, then come back to it, and you feel the least bit uncomfortable with that, just shoot 1 target and go to the swinger. So you're not rushing at all. You're just going to be very, very calm, or as calm as you can be as you're shooting that stage for real. Then the other thing, like Kim's saying, in a major match, shooting a miss or something on a swinger is going to bother you a lot. Like, that showing up on your scorecard is going to bother you a lot more than an extra second added onto the stage. So call your shots on the swinger and make sure that there's 2 on there before you leave, right? So you call 2 good ones, then you leave. If you fire 1 good one and 1 you're not sure about, stand there for the extra pass and fire another one and then take off. So get comfortable with that. Start mentally rehearsing that before you ever shoot the stage. Like the night before, there's a swinger that you're worried about, just be thinking like, okay, I watched that thing come out like 10 times today, tracked it, I understand how it moves, and I'm going to make sure that I fired 2 good shots before I take off. So if I fire 1 good one I'm not sure about, I'm going to fire another one at it, and then I'll take off. And then as your stage is being scored, if you have 3 on the swinger, 3 good hits on the swinger instead of just 2 or something, and you had to fire an extra shot, don't beat yourself up about that. You didn't do anything wrong to fire an extra shot if you weren't sure about one. You weren't wrong to do that at the time. You just, you're just being safe, and that's okay. What do you think about that, Matt? Is that helpful advice?
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. But the big thing is, if you can't practice, show up early to the match, track the thing as it comes out, watch as it comes out. Oh, one other thing I forgot to say. For fuck's sake, when the swinger's being demonstrated to you, or if you're watching other people shoot it, only watch the first couple swings or the first couple passes of a moving target, and then look away. You don't want it in your brain, because you'll get a really weird sense for how fast the swinger is or how available it is. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like after the first couple passes, they can change dramatically, and they usually do. They start to change where they stop. It changes how long the exposure is. It changes a lot of shit. So don't look at it past the first couple swings, because it's going to be changing. You'll get a weird sensation for what should be happening there.
And one good idea is, if you can activate the popper early, then activate it, and then shoot the swinger later. I just shot Area 6, and there was 2 options where you can start shooting the activator first, and then at the last position you can shoot the swinger kind of strategy. And some shot that way. A couple top shooters shot that way. Started with the activator, and then like 3rd position they shot the swinger kind of thing. And by the time it's slowing down a little bit, so it'll be easier to shoot.
Yeah, good idea. All right, well, I think that's all we have today, gentlemen.
Sounds good.
Another absolutely banging podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Listeners, if you have a question you want the answer to, go to bensteger.com, send me your question. We'd love to answer it for you, provided it's not fucking retarded. We don't get too many retarded questions, usually get good ones, so just saying.